What's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. Today's video, I'm gonna do something a little bit different. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the Pride Win tier list. Now, as you guys may know, I posted a video probably like last week talking about the Tower of God New World Pride Win tier list and basically putting in my opinion on how I feel about the tier list overall. And I'll say this, man, everybody's reaction to the Pride Win tier list, it was 50-50. Some people agree with the tier list and some people completely disagree with the Pride Win tier list. And me personally, I'm like in the middle. I'm like in between. Sometimes I agree and sometimes I don't. So in this video, I'm basically going to address that, and I'm also going to talk about future solutions to basically like this whole tier list situation, because I feel like this tier list situation has been happening for quite a while, and I feel like I should definitely come up with a solution, not only for myself and for the channel, but for you guys as well. But anyways, before I get started on the video, make sure you guys comment, like, and subscribe, and also turn on post notification bell so that you guys can always stay tuned. That's when I post new videos. I'd really appreciate it. And if you guys are new here on the channel, I have a Discord server, so if you guys have any questions, you can join the server by going to my channel description. There's a server link there, and I'll also post a server link in the comment section down below. And also, memberships are officially available, so if you want to become an official member today, you can do so by clicking the join button next to the subscribe button, and you can become an official Pharos member today by simply just supporting the channel. But anyways, let's not waste any time. Let's hop right into the video. So the first thing I want to touch on in this tier list is none other than Hwaryun. Now Hwaryun, she is literally the centerpiece of this entire situation. Like, a lot of people are saying that Hwaryun, she's just absolute garbage in late game, and most people are saying that, you know, she's one of the best support units in the game, including me as well. I think she's still one of the best support units in the game. And overall, I feel like the reason why like people's takes on Hwaryun is just so 50-50 is because of the tier that they put her in. They basically put her in the same tier as Amigo Shars and Yellowy. So me personally, this just doesn't look right. Like, putting her in the same tier as Yellowy and Amigo Shars, that just doesn't make sense to me. And the reason why is because OG Tower of God New World players, you guys already know, Hwaryun was literally the first SSR character in the game, and she was absolutely broken. Now, I'm not saying that just because she was the first character in the game and she's broken, then she deserves the SS tier spot. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that Hwaryun, she was literally like, she's still like the main character that will literally carry you in early game and mid game. Like, if you are a new player to Tower of God New World, Hwaryun will literally solo content. She'll literally solo content so hard. Like, you can literally just place her in a team by herself and she'll just do everything on her own. It's absolutely insane. Like, I'm gonna go ahead, switch on to the game, and show you guys what I'm talking about. So when we basically look at Hwaryun's kit, right? Now, the main reason why a lot of people are saying that, you know, Hwaryun fell off in the late game is because, one, she's probably squishy in the late game and she just gets instantly destroyed by, you know, various units like Joaquin, or basically she just falls off in the meta completely, right, in the late game. Now, I can basically see what people are talking about. Like, I can actually understand what they're saying when they say that Hwaryun falls off in the late game. I can actually understand that. But the reason why Hwaryun doesn't deserve that A tier spot is because as a beginner character, she just boosts, like, she basically boosts your account progression so quick. Like, if you're a new player and if you have Hwaryun, your account level, you will literally go from adventure like floor 1 to floor 14 instantly. She will just solo content. That's just how much of a good character she is. And the reason why she's just so good is because of her passive. Like, her passive, the fact that she's able to provide an attack increase to your team, she's able to provide crit hit rate, she's able to provide swiftness increase, barrier, and on top of that, she can basically make your team focus on a specific enemy. So let's say there is an enemy who's standing in the back row who's doing a lot of damage. Hwaryun, if you actually manage to make her survive, she's going to target that enemy and just instantly kill that enemy, which is really good. So it's like, I would say like the main reason why a lot of people would put Hwaryun in A tier is because of her survivability, and I can definitely see that as one of the main reasons why they would put her in A tier. Because let's be honest, Hwaryun's survivability, it's not the best. Like, she can literally die instantly, but if you can actually manage to make her survive, she can provide so much value to your team. It just depends on how you use the character, and that's literally what I'm about to touch on next. I feel like the biggest problem with a lot of players is that they would look at the tier list and they would say, okay, this character deserves to be in this tier because, you know, let's say that the character is just trash overall. But the thing is like, you never tested the character, right? You never put the character in the right team. Maybe you're not maybe you're not actually reading the character's kit and actually understanding the character's value before using them. You know what I'm saying? Because I'll say, okay, one person messaged me. I'm not gonna say who it is, but one person messaged me, right? They said, I'm struggling on a certain floor. Can you please help me? So I was like, all right, so which floor are you struggling on? This person said that they're struggling on floor 12. I was like, okay, so, you know, which characters are you using? The person said, I'm using ENDORSI, I'm using Norei, I'm using Rachel, I'm using Evan, and I'm also using Bob. And I was like, all right, this is where I can come in and help you. All right, as a beginner player, you should definitely focus on Hwaryun, Hats, Gia. Basically, focus on beginner units because they're basically going to carry you at the beginning phase. Like, that's why they're called beginner units, because they help you progress through the game instantly. Yes, if you use characters like Yiwa, she's just gonna instantly clear everything. That is true. That's why she's also a good, like, she's still the most broken unit in the game, like, hands down. Like, that's just common sense. Like, Yiwa's just broken. But other than that, like, I'm talking about characters who literally shine in the early phase of the game, which is Hwaryun, Hats, Bomb. You know, these type of characters, they shine in the early phase of the game, right? And later on, when you progress through the game, then you will realize that some of these characters fall off, like Hats. Hats was, you know, he will sometimes fall off when you progress through the game, which is actually true. But does that mean that the character is trash overall? No, that doesn't mean that the character is trash overall. It just means that the character, basically, the character is no longer in the spotlight. Now, these characters, for example, Kaseya, you have this guy as well, Blurode. You guys remember Blurode at the, like, literally in the beginning of the game, people were dogging on Blurode, man. Like, Blurode, he had no hype, he had no attention. Nobody cared about this character. He was in the garbage can. Nobody didn't even care about this guy. I didn't even know this guy existed. Up until the mid game and late game, everybody was like, you know what? Actually, this guy is actually broken. He's literally one of the best boss units in the game. So it's like, that's literally what I'm talking about. Like, people need to understand that some characters, they shine at certain times, certain places. Like, it's like, basically, a character shines for a specific moment, and then now it's time for other characters to shine. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just how gacha games are. Whenever there's like an update, that update will always be about the specific character that's featured. For example, when Hwaryun got released, she was broken. And then when they released Gia after that, Gia was also broken as well. It's like, whenever they release a character, that character is going to receive the spotlight, because that's just how gacha games are. Whenever there's a new update and there's a new featured character, that new featured character, the devs are basically going to, you know, release buffs for that character. They're going to release levels that literally, like, that basically makes the featured character shine. That's literally what gacha games do. Is basically marketing. So, like, the fact that we literally had a collab event that was specifically focused on Green Element, realize how they basically boosted up Lozel's rank. Like, Lozel was never this high on the tier list. She was literally below in the tier list. But as soon as the collab event update came out, she got boosted up from, like, you know, she basically got boosted up into the tier list. She got boosted up from probably like C tier, B tier to S tier, because her value increased, because basically it was time for Green Element units to shine. So let's say for the next collab event is going to focus on Red Element, right? So the fact that Hwaryun was placed on A tier. We already know beginner players, whenever they look at a tier list, they're not even gonna look at A tier. They're only gonna look at S tier and SS tier, and that's it. They're not gonna look at A tier. So when that collab event comes, they're not even gonna have Hwaryun built. Like they're not even gonna have her at all because she was A tier. So they should literally split this tier list up into a beginner's tier list and also an in-game tier list, so that whenever there's going to be new players entering the game, they're going to have their beginner units built up, so that whenever, for future updates, whenever, let's say, the beginner unit that they basically invested in, for example, let's say hats, later on in future updates, maybe there's going to be an update in the future that's going to revolve around yellow elements, and that's basically going to buff up Hat's capabilities and basically buff up his rank or tier. So that's literally what they should do from now on: create a separated tier list for beginner players and also in-game players. Saying that a character is trash overall just because the character no longer shines, that's just not how it works. Like, that's just not how it works, because when I created that wishlist video, you guys know what I'm talking about, the summon wishlist video. When I created that video, some people in the comment section were like, well, Hwaryun, I wouldn't say, she should be in the wish list because she's trash. Guys, remember, that summon wishlist video is mostly for beginner players. If you are a beginner player, not summoning for Hwaryun is one of the biggest mistakes you can make overall, because she's an all-around character. She can do good damage, she provides shield, and on top of that, she can buff your team. Hats can do, he can do good damage as well. He has a good sustain. The more copies you get on him, the better he becomes. That's just pretty much how the game works. Whenever an update comes and a featured character comes, that featured character, the devs will basically make that update about the character, and then everybody will basically see how strong the character is, because the update and the patch is specifically about that character. But once we move on to, later patches and future updates, the character is going to fall off because that character's time already shined. Like, that character was already in the spotlight. Now it's time to put other characters in spotlights. For example, Vile, right? When Vile first came out, Vile was absolute dog water. He was trash. No one liked this character, including me. He was trash. Up until he received a buff. When he received the buff, then now everybody's like, okay, this character is actually good now. So it's like, there's just factors, and just putting her in A tier with other units like Yellowy and Amigo Shards, man, that just doesn't make any sense to me. Because if you look at Amigo Shards, looking at his tier, the dude is literally C tier for bossing, B tier for PvP, and A tier for story. Hwaryun for A tier in story is crazy, because I'm still using her in story. Like, I'm literally still using this character until this day in story, and she's still doing good. And I feel like, following a tier list, blindly following the tier list without actually, forming your own opinion and forming your own thoughts, that's like a very dangerous route. Because what I do is, before, I look at a tier list, I'm like, all right, let me go ahead and test these characters out, and let me actually try them for myself, instead of just looking at a tier list, just blindlessly looking at a tier list, and then following the tier list, and then just going to the game and just, okay, so they said that this character is S tier. I'm going to go ahead and just, use that character. And then this character is A tier. I'm just not even going to pay attention to that character. Because let's be honest, when you look at a tier list, you only look at S tier and above, and that's pretty much it. You don't even look at the A tiers and below. So I feel like putting Hwaryun in like A tier for story is that's just dangerous overall, especially for beginner players. So a solution that I formed is, this is what I'm going to do from now on. This is going to be like a huge change for the channel. A solution that I formed is basically, I'm going to create a tier list, a custom tier list based off of my opinion and community as well. So for all my viewers, for all, my Tower of God New World viewers, for all the people who watch my videos, my Tower of God New World videos, I'm going to create tier lists based off of your opinions and my opinions as well. So basically, how is this going to work? Make sure that you guys comment your thoughts. Whenever I end a video, I always ask you guys to put your thoughts down below in the comment section. The reason why I do that is because I want to see y'all's opinions, so that I can basically come to certain conclusions that can help me in the future, and that can also help, future videos. So that's literally the plan for now. Like, I'm basically going to create a custom tier list that's based off of my opinion and all y'all opinions as well. Whenever a new character comes out in the future, I'm basically I'm not gonna follow. I'm gonna be straight up with y'all. I'm not gonna follow the Pride Win tier list. I feel like the Pride Win tier list, it's really good. Like there, of course, these characters in the bottom. Like I agree with this 100%. Like these characters in the bottom, they're just trash, right? But when we start from like Hwaryun being an A tier, and even Child and Dorsey, like come on, Child and Dorsey A tier for story is absolutely insane. Child and Dorsey is cracked. Like she should be in like S tier and up. Like putting Yeon above Child and Dorsey is that's crazy to me. So I feel like following this tier list is just this is just a dangerous road and dangerous direction for beginner players, because I know a lot of beginner players, they're gonna look at this tier list and they're gonna be like, all right, Hwaryun, I don't know who that is, but she's an A tier, so I'm not even gonna look at her. Even though they see SS tier for bossing, as soon as they see that A tier, they're gonna be like, okay, she's not even that good, and they're just gonna look at the SS tier and above, which is crazy. So I want to start creating custom tier lists. I'm gonna create a custom tier list based off of my opinion and y'all opinion. And whenever a new character comes out, I'm gonna test that character. And then if you guys played with that character, for example, the new character Blanc, um, the next video, like the next tier list video I'm gonna make is gonna be the custom tier list. And I want you guys to comment your thoughts on Blanc, because that will basically help me create this tier list. So that's literally what I'm gonna do from now on, because I feel like following a tier list without actually testing a character out, like basically just putting, characters in a specific tier without even testing them and, seeing their full potential. I feel like that's just a really dangerous route for beginner players, because me making these videos and guides is to help you guys and basically help you guys basically make sure that you guys are making right choices with your account, and to basically pick the most optimized direction for your account. Because I don't want you guys to invest into I just don't want you guys to invest into characters that are just straight up terrible. For example, investing, I mean, Rack in the early game was actually pretty good, but he's just absolute trash in the late game. So like investing into wrong characters, that can like basically ruin your account progression by a lot. So I feel like, blindlessly following a tier list without actually testing the character yourself is a very dangerous route. So that's pretty much the solution. I'm going to create my own custom tier list for you guys, and you guys are also, your opinions will also be included in the tier list. For the ignition weapons, this is perfectly fine, honestly. Like probably when they did a great job with the ignition weapon, like this is honestly really good overall. But I just feel like for the tier list, like they really messed up on Hwaryun and Child and Doris. Like those are like the top two characters they really messed up on. Like they just messed up on both of those characters a lot. Like Child and Doris in A tier is just crazy to me. So overall, I feel like what Pride should do for now on for their Tower of God tier list is that they should basically split their tier list up into two categories. They should split it up in a beginner's tier list and also a veterans, like basically a veterans player tier list. Because I think they did the same thing for Reverse 1999. Like if we go over here to Reverse 1999, we look at a tier list. You can basically see how the tier list that they did for Reverse 1999 is more complex. Like they basically have like the overall tier. They also have the global tier, the CN tier. Like there's basically so many categories. There's so many factors that that plays into the character and which tier that they belong in Reverse 1999. But when we look at Tower of God New World, for example, we go back to Tower of God New World, it's just story, boss, PvP, and that's it. There's no, okay, this character is good for the beginning phase, and then for the late game the character kind of falls off. There's literally none of that. It's just story, bossing, and PvP, and that's it. So I feel like that can be very confusing for beginner players, because when a beginner player is playing the game, the first thing they're going to do is that they're going to watch a video on YouTube, or they're going to go to the website and search up a tier list. And then when they look at the tier list, the only thing they're going to look at is S tier and above, and then from A tier and below they're not even going to look at that. So that's really the main reason why I'm creating a custom tier list, because for the custom tier list is basically going to be like a tier list for that's basically beginner and in-game player friendly. It can work for beginner players and also for in-game players. So I feel like that's literally what Pride should do. They should split this tier list up into a beginner player category and also a late game player category, because putting a character that's so godly in the beginning game in just A tier is just so it's like a huge misdirection for beginner players. But anyways, put your doubts down below in the comment section of what you guys think about this video. What you got, like, do you guys agree, disagree? I'll have to see y'all thoughts and opinions. And please guys, comment down below. It would really help me and also the channel. But anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll be catching you guys on the next one. Peace.